All right, this is lesson 222, areas of triangles and composite shapes. So we're going to be working on finding the area of some of these shapes below. Now you may look at the shape and you think, I don't have a formula for this shape, or I'm not sure how to find the area. What we can do though is we can cut this shape into shapes that we do know how to find the area of, right? So I'm going to turn this into an 11 by 3 rectangle. And then this right here, if this whole thing is 5 and this part is 3, then this remaining portion right here is 2. So this is a 2. And then in order to figure out what this part is, I see that this is 8 and this is 11. So 11 minus 8 is 3. So I have a 2 by 3 rectangle and then an 11 by 3 rectangle. Now, in order to find the area of a rectangle or any square, you're simply going to multiply the base times the height, or one side times the other. So for this rectangle, the longer one, 11 times 3 is 33. And then 3 times 2 is 6. So the area of the small one is 6, the area of the large one is 33. So 33 plus 6 is 39. Okay, and we don't have any sort of units here, so we're just going to say units. And because this is area, because we multiplied two things together, this is units squared. Okay. Moving on to B, they want the shaded portion here. So what this is going to look like is taking the big rectangle and then subtracting out this small rectangle so that we can find this shaded region, almost like a donut. So area of the large rectangle, 12 times 24 is 288. So the big rectangle is 288. And then the small rectangle is 4 times 8, which is 32. So we want to take that small rectangle away so that we can just get this shaded portion. So 288 minus 32 is 256. And then here we were given meters, so this is meters squared. Okay. All right, here we're going to have to do a little bit of work. Base times height is going to be 2x plus 3 times x plus 4. And I put these in parentheses because we're wanting to multiply the entire side by the entire side. Okay, and here if you have done factoring before in algebra, maybe you learned the box and diamond way, maybe you learned the FOIL method. Okay, I'm just going to use FOIL here, which stands for first, outside, inside, last. So I'm going to multiply the 2x times the x, which is 2x squared. Then the 2x by the 4, which is 8x. Then 3 times x, which is 3x. And then lastly, 3 times 4, which is 12. Then I'm going to combine these x's here, 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. And that is my area of that rectangle. Over here, I'm going to do a similar thing as to what I did with A, where I'm going to break it into shapes that I can find the area of. So I'm kind of thinking these 3 rectangles here. Okay, these markings on the side are pretty important right here. These mean that these are all the same length. Okay, so the entire thing is 18 and I have 3 sections of equal length. So I'm going to divide 18 by 3 to get 6, which means that each of these is 6, and that helps me find the dimensions of my rectangle. Okay, I also have that each of these sides are the same, which means that 27 here has been divided into 3 equal chunks. So 27 divided by 3 is 9. So these parts are 9. Okay? So this first rectangle here, I'm going to make it the green rectangle. Okay, the green rectangle is 27 long and 6 wide. So 27 times 6 is 162. I'm going to highlight the second rectangle blue. This one, it is not 27. It will have 27 with 9 taken away from it. So 27 minus 9 is 18, so it has a side length of 18. And it also has a height of 6, again, just like the other one. And then finally, this pink one has a side length of 9, like we labeled, and then 6. So 6 times 18 for the blue rectangle is 108. And then 6 times 9 for the pink rectangle is 54. And to find the total area of the shape, we can just add these all together. So 162 plus 108 plus 54 is 324. And we are in centimeters for this shape. All right, this is a rectangle that has been chopped in half, so it is a triangle, okay? So what I might do is find the area of this rectangle and then chop it in half. So 14 times 5 gets me 70. But then I only want half of that, so I'm going to divide that 70 by 2 to get 35 yards squared. So now we have a triangle and we're a little stuck because we don't know how to find the area of a triangle. However, what I do notice is that the area of a triangle simply seems to be half of the area of a square, or the rectangle. So going back to my area of a rectangle right here, that was base times height. Well, a triangle would take that and divide it by 2. So the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2 because it's half of a rectangle. So let's use that down here, base times height divided by 2. The base of my triangle here is 4 plus 10, so that's 14. Okay? So that's the base. Times my height, that is going to be 5. That's how tall my triangle is. And then we're going to divide that by 2. So 14 times 5 is 70, and dividing that by 2 is 35. Okay? Now notice that we got the same answer for this triangle as this triangle, and even though they look a little different, they actually both have the same base of 14 and the same height of 5. So even if the triangles look different, as long as they have the same base and height, they will have the same area. So 35, I think this is centimeters. I always forget which one is the single hash and the double hash. All right. Ismail claimed that he did not need to calculate the area in F since it had the same dimensions. And I guess we already talked about this here. Okay, same dimensions because of the formula we discovered. This is labeled as 1/2 base times height. I just want to make that clear that that is the same thing as base times height divided by 2. You might see them written both ways. Okay, so if all these triangles have the same base and the same height, yes, they will have the same area because the formula is base times height divided by 2. If the height is the same, if the base is the same, you're going to get the same thing every time. All right. How do you know which dimensions to use to find the area of a triangle? We need the base and the height, okay? So it is important. The base is usually pretty easy to find, right? In this case, the base is 6, but the height needs to have a special relationship with the base. okay? The height needs to make a 90-degree angle with the base. We have a word for this. It is called perpendicular. The height needs to be perpendicular to the base. So you might have been wanting to make 9 your height. However, it is not perpendicular to our base. That's not actually how tall the triangle is because it's slanted. Our height here is 5 and our base is 6. Okay? So here we have 6 times 5 and then divided by 2. So this is an area of 15 meters squared. So I'm going to write this down. The height must be 90 degrees or perpendicular to the base. All right. How do we know what they should be? We just talked about that. They should be perpendicular. And we are going to move on to the check your understandings. So we're going to be using our base times height divided by 2 formula here. So we're just going to do some quick calculations. 6 times 3 divided by 2 is 9. Here our base is 10 and our height is 8. So our area is going to be 40. Here our base is 16 and our height is 13. So 16 times 13 divided by 2 is 104. Here our base is 7 and our height is 8. So 7 times 8 divided by 2 is 28. Here I'm going to break this into 2 sections. So this is a 20 by 5 rectangle. So the area here is 100. And then this is not 30. 5 has been taken off of it. So the length of this is going to be 25 by 15. So this is 375. And if we add those together, we are going to get 475. This one, we could cut this into a rectangle and a triangle. So the rectangle is 29 times 10, which is 290. So, and then for the triangle, the base is 29 and the height is 19. So 29 times 19 is 551, but we need to then divide that by 2. So the area of the triangle is 275.5. And then we can add those together. 290, that's the rectangle, plus 275.5, that's the triangle, is 565.5. All right, medium, same thing here. Our base is 12, our height is 4, and we're doing base times height divided by 2, so this is 24. Here our base is 12 plus 3, so 16. Our height is 7, and so base times height divided by 2 is 56. Here, let's chop it into pieces we know. This is a 12 by 6 rectangle, so that's 72. If we have 3 feet over here and 3 feet over here, that means there are 6 feet left if this is 12. So this is a 6 by 8 rectangle, which is 48. So then if we add those together, 72 plus 48 is 120. All right, breaking this into pieces we know. We'd have 2 10 by 25s. Then this is 10 left right here because we already had 10 or 20 taken up, and this whole thing is 30. So this is a 10. They're saying this is 5 and the whole thing is 25. which means that this is 20. This is a 10 by 20. Obviously not drawn to scale here. So 200. 10 by 25 is 250 and 250. Which means this is 600. Actually, this is 700. Moving on to this one, I'm going to turn this into a rectangle and a square. So this is a 12 by 20 rectangle, so this is going to be 240. We have the 12, but plus 4 extra, so the base of our triangle is 16. And then the height is 12. So 16 times 12 divided by 2 is 96. So adding that to 240, 336. Over here, I'm going to break this into a triangle and two rectangles. This height is going to be 20 since we have 20 over here and the whole thing is 40. So we have a 20 by 18 rectangle, which is 360. A 22 by 40 rectangle, which is 880. And then for our triangle, the base is, the whole thing is 50, but we've already used up 18 and 22, which is 40. So this is only 10. And then we already talked about the height is 20. So 10 times 20 divided by 2 is going to be 100. So we've got 880 plus 360 plus 100, which is 1,340. Moving on to the spicy. The base is 16, the height is 2, so the area is 16. Here the base is 9, the height is 6.4. So our area is 28.8. All right, here we got some breaking up to do. Why don't we chop it off here? So this is a 70 by 30 right here. So 70 times 30 is 2,100. This part right here is 20 because we've used up 30 here and the whole thing's 50. And this part's 10, which means this part is 10. And then this is 30 and the whole thing is 40. So this is 30 right here. So let's chop it up like this. That's going to be 10. So then we have a 10 by 20, which is 200. And then a 30 by 10, which is 300. So when we add these all up, we should get 2,600. All right, chopping up here, this might be easiest, like this. This is an 8 by 18 in this first one, so 8 times 18 is 144. So then we have a 6 by 18, which is 108. And then this right here is 10 if the whole thing is 28, and this part is 18. So then we've got a 10 by 16, which is 160. So that is 412. All right, then we've got a lot going on here. Why don't we take care of this right here? So this is a 25 by 9 rectangle. So 25 times 9, this whole thing is 225. I'm going to break this shape into a triangle and a rectangle. So we've got a 5 by 10 right here, so that's 50. And then this triangle is going to be half of that, 25. Oh, I'm sorry. The base here is 6 and the height is 8. So 6 times 8 divided by 2 is actually 24. You know what? I think I called the wrong thing 10. The height is actually 8, so this square right here is going to have an area of 40. Then we've got an 8 by 3 rectangle here, which is 24. And there we go. So 255 plus 24 plus 24 again plus 40 is 343.